we are just super glad to be here today to just talk about what's happened in the last several months. And it seems like we've been doing this for a long time, but we really haven't. So Calvary Community Church here had reached out to us, if you remember, and to some of us and asked us to go to this meeting. And so at this meeting, I found out these people were all there. Jess, you weren't there at that point, but we brought you in. So how about if we just start with introductions?
Yeah, I'm Jeff Cole, and my wife, Ashley, and I are technically on the paperwork to sponsor this family. We've been going to Crossroads for since about COVID, like 4 years.
Yeah.
I'm Stephanie Shipman and my husband Randy Shipman. We are part of this team helping bring this family in. We've been at Crossroads for 10 years.
Mm-hmm. How time flies, right?
Time flies.
It's a great thing, and we're glad that you're here. And I'm Holly Snyder, and I just am the staff liaison for the Mission 316 team. And it's such a fabulous team. You guys all do the work, and I just get to enjoy.
I'm Jess Melican, and my husband Josh and I are also part of the team. I'm kind of in charge of coordinating everything, being one spot for information, and so I can get information to all the other people on the team here.
And I'm Jenny Everett, and I think we always mention our spouses. My husband's Mike Everett, because they come along regardless, whether what we want to do. But I'm a member of Mission 316 and was at one of the first meetings for the Ukrainian families.
So I think just we want to get awareness out there of how this ministry came to us. And so like we talked about, Calvary reached out to us. They have a team there, and we could not do this without them. I mean, they have paved the way and made it so easy for us. And what a blessing they have been. So a shout out huge to Candace and Sebastian Whiting, right? And they are huge into that, and Lori Kinsinger. And then they also have, I forget her.
Kara Kipp.
Yeah, Kara Kipp. And she is a big liaison in the community for the school. So with what has happened in Ukraine, right, a lot of people were able to get out of there, or some people were, before the borders were locked down and the war started and the men were not allowed to leave. So they have identified a family with us. They had been bringing families over, and the family that they identified for us is friends with somebody who was already here. So the purpose and their mission and our mission is really to help these families get established in the United States and be successful citizens here too, right? And that is, from what I hear, their plan too. They want to come, they want to, get established and be here where it's safe and things like that. So with that being said, they had a meeting, and that's where Stephanie came and some other community people that were there from Crossroads. And I do have to, I tell this favorite story that Jeff Cole left there wanting to bring 8 and 10 families all at once. And I said, no, we're going to start with one, Jeff, and not all 8. But, blessings if we can bring the 8 or 10 or 20 over here. So we're starting with the one. With that being said, we brought that back to the Mission 316 team. We prayed about it, we discerned about it, brought it back to our pastors and leaderships, and it was never a question. It was kind of like, this is what we need to do, right? I mean, it was like never a question. And so with that, part of the process is you have to have people sponsor, and that's doing paperwork and signing and going through all the government stuff, and then you also have to have a host. And so Crossroads, with the Mission 316 team, is the host, but Jeff and Ashley Cole are technically the sponsors. And so I think by just explaining a little bit about what you guys all do. So from the Mission 316 team, our job at Mission 316 is to bring opportunities to the congregation, right? And it's not for us to run everything and do everything, it's to bring opportunities. And so a subcommittee from that was formed, and God has played a part in all of this because Stephanie Shipman steps up and her gifts, she's like, I'm ready. And Jess Melican steps up and her gifts, she's like, I want to do this. And their spouses and other people that aren't here today have stepped up. We had a meeting with the congregation, and we had 20 to 25 people that have all volunteered, and we have your names and numbers that we're going to be calling on you. But this is an opportunity for our church, every single person, to be involved behind the scenes, in front of the scenes, whatever it is. And so we want to get the word out about what we're going to need. So with that subcommittee, each of you are a lead on what all is needed. And then Jess has stepped forward because of a nudging from the Holy Spirit. And it was the same week that she and I had that. And I'm like, thank you, yes. And so she's overseeing all of it so we don't look like we don't know what we're doing. So you want to start, Jeff, with exactly kind of letting people know what you guys did, you and Ashley, and where you're going, and how thankful we are that Sebastian and Candace have walked us through this process.
Yeah, so the paperwork has to have somebody's name attached to it. So I Rose talked to Ashley, and we raised our hand to fill it out. And there's requirements, minimum income requirements and certain small background checks that they have to do, but it's honestly without Candace and Sebastian. I mean, I was over their house, I don't know, till 11 o'clock at night one night filling out all this paperwork that I kind of thought was going to take like 20 minutes, but it took like 3 hours. They wanted me to leave by 11 o'clock, so I just left. But that was the first step, was filling out all that paperwork, getting passport information from them, which, we're doing all this communication through Facebook Messenger, and, there's a translator involved, so we got to make sure that everything is translated correctly, or else the paperwork is going to get kicked back. So we filled all that out, and then it was a waiting game, just, for the government to approve, which people probably can guess that that's not exactly a swift process. So we were kind of in a standstill, like we assumed they were going to approve it, but there's always in the back of my mind, like, I was supposed to write up a narrative on why they should get here, and I'm like, I hope I did that. I hope I did that well. And, as time goes on, it's like, did I screw this up? But probably my favorite part of the entire thing was the day that Megan was talking and introducing the family, and their picture was up on the board. In the middle of that sermon, I got the confirmation emails from the government. I got out of my seat, I went and found Holly, and I was like, I'm trying to read these emails on my phone, and I was like, I'm pretty sure that this says we're good to go. And as Megan was talking about it, I just thought that was like the coolest thing.
We were still listening to Megan, but we were really celebrating.
I was 100%.
We really were
in.
celebrating that this went through, and they are coming, right? We were listening, Pastor Megan, honest.
And they got emails at the Vlad and Anna got the emails at the exact same time. So, I mean, my Facebook Messenger's blowing up throughout the entire service, like, hey, we're approved. What's next steps? So then it's real, but then I got nervous. I was nervous because we weren't ready.
Right.
We're like, are they ready to book their tickets tomorrow? Because I'm not ready. But the time frame was perfect. They didn't want to. They had to wrap up what they had, leases and their belongings. So end of August worked for them as well. So then we got on looking for housing and found them a great little affordable place that is right by Central School. It's right in the middle of town. They can walk to the parks, to grocery stores. A great community, and hopefully it's something that as they get their work and have an income that they can afford on their own without any assistance from anybody else.
Right. And so, Jeff, it's my understanding too that with the Ukrainian families, we haven't had to go through as much government process because they really expedite this even more than a normal family that would want to be coming and stuff like that. But it still took you many hours and many conversations and going out and looking at the apartment yourself. And you even gave us, the dimensions of everything so we know what kind of furniture and all that stuff. So it was a timing thing. And we had first heard from the meeting that it usually takes 6 to 8 weeks before people can get here through that process. And it was about?
Yeah, it was about that. And we also had, normally, there's a process of getting matched with a family through a database, and we skipped that process because we had Calvary helping us, and because they know a family here that they basically already vetted. We didn't go through that process, which made it, as our first family that we're bringing over, that made it really easy as far as that's concerned, because we weren't. In the back of our heads, are we wondering, is this really a good family? Are they going to come over here and not be great members of society? But with this family, we have kind of no fear of that.
Right. And you were really on the ground running in the fact that you were talking specifically to them. So you mentioned that there's an app you can get and it translates. But, I mean, that was new to you, right? Like you had not had to do that, and it's been quite an experience for you, and God's provided through all that too.
Yeah, I mean, there's always, whether it's this or anything in life, you got to try something for the first time. You just got to pull the trigger and do it, and that's what I kept saying to you. Like we just got to say yes, and we'll figure it out. Yeah. And eventually we did, and we're figuring it out as we go.
Yeah.
So that phone call, after we found, actually prior to getting the approval for Vlad and Anna to come, we had a face-to-face phone call with them to introduce ourselves, and that was just an amazing conversation to have with them. They were so eager to get to know us, and Jeff just kind of went through all the steps and things, kind of very pertinent questions, what they would like to do. And I think, as we've heard through Calvary, with all the families, they want to come, they want to work, they want to get kind of their lives back on track. They've been, especially if they've been in Germany or Poland or elsewhere, where they can't work. They're not allowed to work. Their basic needs are being met, but they're not allowed to work. And thankfully for those countries who accepted the refugees in, but they really wanted them to move along. So they are, to a person, they've all been so excited to find out, where can I work? What can I do? And that we knew then that was something this was going to work out. And just to see their faces and to know that they were so excited to come, it was very real at that point. Yeah. When we made the decision to go ahead with the sponsorship. Yeah. It was an important step, but we did already know a little bit about them through Katya and Yuri. So, but that was a real blessing to be able to have that conversation with them. Yeah. And to let them know they were coming to people who want them here and already love them, right. As a church family. So that was such a helpful conversation for us all.
And you two were on that call and got to see them, and it became real. That sermon where Pastor Megan put it up here, so many people came up to me afterwards because it became real to them then too, right? Like you put a face, and this is, I always remind you guys, and I know you're tired of hearing it, but when we're taking this on, this is not like if you forgot your pork and beans for WHIP. This is a family coming here, right? And so meeting their needs and having everything ready for them and doing the best we can is huge. And so that's why it takes everybody in this church that some way you can help, you can really help. And so you guys experiencing that and meeting them for the first time, that had to be pretty cool. That's awesome. And so from that, we've moved on to, okay, what do we need? What do we need? What do we need? Which is where Stephanie comes in, too.
Oh, I was going to say Jess first.
Or Jess first.
I think Jess
Whichever
first.
one wants to go first. So,
Well, yeah. So my husband and I, Josh, we were not at that original meeting, but we have always had a heart for missions. We've taken a couple missions trips before, and when we heard that Sebastian and Candace were coming to our church to talk about this ministry, it was kind of like what you were talking about. Like it was a no-brainer. Like, of course, we're going to go and see what this is all about. And so we did, and then I reached out to you saying, hey, we want to be a part of this, and you like included us in the first meeting. And then about a month or so ago, I just felt the Holy Spirit say like, hey, I want you to fill this need of the team needs somebody to be like a single contact point. And so in the grand scheme of things, I'm not doing a ton as far as like boots on the ground work. My job is more so just like overseeing things, organizing things, making sure that, as a big picture, things aren't falling through the cracks. And then just also to be that contact point of if anybody has a question about something or wants to donate something, reach out to me and then I'll get you in contact with the person, who will be able to help you with that. And so it's just, it's a big blessing for us too. It's very exciting. We like, when you think about what these families have been through, like I think for all of us, it's unimaginable. I think we just can't even fathom, being displaced from your home. And so to know that we have the opportunity to, help them come here and get established, like it's a very big deal. And, it's something I'm really excited we're doing. So that's kind of my primary job, is just to kind of oversee things, know a little bit about everything, and get people to where they need to be.
And you're so humble because one of the things is when this was coming about is I knew you were married to Josh, and I knew Josh was our guy with organizing computers. I am not that person. And so the team of you, and you used to go to Nicaragua, right? And led teams, and passion that you have for this ministry is wonderful, and missions and all that kind of stuff. So when you say lightly, I'm kind of behind the scenes. You should see on her computer all the work that they've done and how organized it is, which is needed. And so you're a valuable part of this, and point of contact. And if you don't know, you'll find out, right? And trustworthy in doing that, or you'll reach out to another lead and they will do it. So
And
critical.
to your point, Holly, this role is so critical because even though all of us were doing things, we felt like, oh, are we doing double the work? Because I'd hear from somebody or somebody else would hear, and this way we have it all organized, and there is someone who's keeping track because, as you said, these are human beings. This is a family. We can't afford that. When they need to be somewhere, oh, we didn't realize that was happening.
Right.
This is where that comes in. And talk a little bit about the sign-up genius that we'll be using for kind of arrangements.
Yeah. So really we should have Josh up here talking about that, because Josh was the one that kind of put it all together. But we're just, eventually, like Jeff said, like this is the first time that we're doing this. We, like all of us, are kind of flying blind here. Luckily, we do have Candace and Sebastian to walk us through things. And so I guess we're not completely blind, but we're still just trying to figure things out. And so, Josh put together a form that will eventually go out when we know some more specific needs for people to be able to sign up on there. But then he's also created a spreadsheet just for all of our information to stay organized, that will also make it easier, hopefully in the future, if we decide to do this again. We'll have like a template all ready to go, so that we can do this even more efficiently next time. So,
Right. And it's critical, like you say, that role, because when, like Jeff said, they said they're coming and we're all like, oh my gosh, we're not ready. We got to get this together. And it was that week after that I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, we're all doing little bits and pieces, and everybody went together and we had meetings. And this team has been wonderful because with my schedule and your schedules, I'm like, can we meet at this time? And everybody's made it to those meetings and things like that. And so they've really outdone themselves with that. But with that being said, it was that same week that I'm like, ooh, we got to have that person from the congregation that just oversees all of that. And then Jess is like, we need to talk. And I'm like, yes, we do.
And honestly, I think that's just such a testament to like
It
the Holy
is.
Spirit at work. I mean, just the fact that like he placed it on all of our hearts to be doing this. And it's just been so amazing to watch, like as a need has popped up, it's been filled. Like God is working through people's hearts to make this happen. And it's been really neat to watch and be a part of.
It has, and one of those first meetings where a lot of people came, it was like the Stephanies, and I should say Lori Weston is missing from here, and she is a huge part of this. So she's getting out of, and Mary Staples is also the one from Mission 316, and they're both getting out of this. But they are critical to the success of this. And so we'll talk for them about what they're doing in a minute, but they owe us all for, doing this. But anyhow, other people have stepped up. So thanks, Jess, for all that you're doing. And Josh, too. He thinks he's out of this, too. So, and then there's Stephanie.
Oh, me. Okay. So I guess how we got involved is, we had initially heard about this whole thing on a youth group night when Riley and had come up to me, or maybe it was Brendan, my son, had come up and be like, did you know that there is a Ukrainian sixth grader that's coming to our school now? And I asked Riley about it, and he's like, yeah, that's true. And this was before it was public. And I was like, me and Randy came home and talked about it, and we're like, what? Like, that's amazing. Like, can you imagine, though, like as a sixth grader, as a kindergartner, as adults being transplanted? And so that's kind of where our interest started. And then whenever the community meeting was after church, Randy was able to attend that, and he relayed all the information, and we kind of stayed afterwards so we could talk to Sebastian and Candace more about it. With Randy being military, we were stationed overseas for several years, and so our experience living overseas, along with being quite literally dropped into nothingness and having to retrain our brains really how to live, that was with a net of the government behind us. And so trying to format that into what these families are going through. Fleeing, yes,
Yeah.
Literally with nothing.
Nothing.
To a suitcase, maybe.
Right.
It kind of made us think like we want to be a part of this. We don't know how. We don't know when. And then a meeting came through, and I was able to attend that. And from there, a need kind of popped up of making sure the gift cards are handled and making sure they have everything they need as soon as not everything, meaning they don't need to go to the grocery store immediately. Let's make sure they have the groceries they need. Let's make sure they have the diapers they need for their child. Let's make sure they have their kitchen utensils, bathroom stuff, beds, let's make sure they have these essentials that they need, so that's not a burden on them when they have to start from scratch again. And so that's kind of where we've taken off of. And during the first meeting, I was like, yeah, I'll take charge of the gift cards, and we called it what? Do you remember what we called it? Wasn't it like a shopping connoisseur or something like that?
Shopping liaison.
Shopping liaison. And I'm not a shopper. But I was like, I can hold on the gift cards and help pass them out. I could do that. And then from there, the next couple weeks, I was like, I feel like I knew Ginny had the furniture in line and what she already had, what was needed, and I was like, what about like the little stuff? What about the food? What about any cultural indifferences that they are so used to that we just don't have, even food wise? They don't use necessarily the same ingredients that we do. So I started on that, and then Jenny reached out to me. She's like, I think we might be overlapping. I was like, oh no, I'm in trouble. Yes, absolutely. And so then I was able to join with Jenny, who already had such an amazing foothold and relationships with the Ukrainians already here, so we can easily find out what these cultural differences are and prepare for them a little bit, as much as we can.
And I think, Stephanie, you guys are all so humble. I think that once again, the Holy Spirit of you and Randy have been displaced in a foreign country,
Yes.
and you had to fend for yourself. I've been there. Several people have done that, and your passion and what God's speaking to you, it's like, I am in full. I mean, I just looked at you at that meeting. I'm like, oh yeah, we got a job for you, right? Like, what is that? But you and Jenny were up in that attic going through donations of stuff in the 98-degree weather.
It wasn't that bad that day.
It wasn't bad up
but
there.
It was,
The styrofoam snow was much worse than the
From
heat.
It was.
VBS.
From
It's a
VBS,
multi-use-
that was,
multi-use
and
room.
VBS is going on too, right? So it's all that craziness. But the fun out of that and what I saw is that you going, okay, we're kind of double dipping there. But you taking on the whole food thing, right? And the whole gift card things that we'll be getting to later. But you taking on that, and I just remember the last meeting leaving going, she is researching this. She is talking to the people. She's finding out where in Illinois you can buy this stuff. And if you go pick them up, we might do a grocery run up by Chicago, right? And oh my gosh, your passion in that just comes through. And it's just so cool. And Randy's too, right? And so
He's my backbone.
he is, and he's been. So we keep looking out here for those of you that might be watching, because the spouses are all out here behind the scenes. But
and can we talk about the
just
fly
that.
in the room?
yeah,
'Cause
there
there's
is a fly in the room,
Yeah.
and it's
So
attacking.
we're not just waving at people.
Yeah.
There's a fly.
Yeah, I'm not waving you off. It's the fly that, I'm waiting for somebody to swallow it. But that just in and of itself has been wonderful. And I think it's what we're supposed to be doing. We're being the hands and feet and thinking about maybe things that they don't think about.
Yes.
Because some of the conversations you've had with them, and not to steal your thunder, but it's like they're trusting us, right? With their next step in their world. And wow, put yourself in that and think about, are you still going to be there? Are you, they're going to land in Chicago. Is that it? And so we don't want to overstep, because we still want to respect their culture, but being culture sensitive, which is what you are, because you've had that experience. So I, again, believe that's the Holy Spirit putting certain people on this team. And there's so many more out there that we don't even know. And so we're coming for all of you, too. So, yeah.
So, well, our story, as all of you know, began a while back when our daughter Jennifer went to Ukraine to be a missionary. So in that respect, we have her perspective of traveling to a different country, not knowing really any of the language, and experiencing the culture shock of that.
Right.
And she went to a loving community that embraced her and helped her, and there were still, all kinds of things that she just was not prepared for. God was there with her and prepared her. So our experience has always been that Jennifer brought to this congregation the face of the Ukrainian people. I have said so long that I know as a people, because we are a loving congregation, that we would have been concerned about those fleeing this war. We would have been concerned about all that was happening. But I think we do have a special connection to the Ukrainian people through Jen and her ministry there. So it was a no-brainer for us to go to that first meeting. We had earlier attended a fundraiser where the families that are currently in the area made pierogies and sold them. We had a huge benefit. So that was our first experience with them. I think Jason had said something to me just prior to Christmas, but we didn't even realize that that was happening. So as we came to the meetings and came together, it is only God that works this way, and I've seen it work in this congregation many times. Just the right people at just the right time, for just the right thing, as you say, the talents and the willingness to step up. So, as Stephanie was saying, I'm a very I wanted literally nothing to do with that paperwork, Jeff. I was scared to death to think about sponsoring because I didn't know what that was all about. I didn't know anything about that. But I do know how to love people, and that was love shown through, making sure they have a colander, making sure they have a toaster, that there are blankets and things like that. And so that was sort of the first tasks that we really started working, was just gathering things that we knew that they would need. These folks literally left Ukraine probably with what they could carry. We all hear those stories back in the day, people, these people left Ukraine with what they could probably fit and carry in a suitcase with a little guy. Their little son, Gleb, will be 2 years old here in July 30th. Can you imagine? They've been in Germany for about a year. So he was a very little baby when they first arrived there. And so my feeling was I wanted them to know comfort and know being surrounded. And that's, I think, my language is to be able to do that. So when we had one of our initial conversations with them, I'll never forget, we were getting all the basics information from them. And because they didn't realize, I don't think they yet realize totally what they're coming to. One of the questions that Anna asked was, will there be somebody who could help us find a job for Vlad? I think they maybe thought we were just going to bring him here and just turn him loose. Yeah. They have no other experience but that.
Right.
Because in a lot of ways they've had to fend for themselves in Germany. So, we just assured them right away that, they weren't going to be alone. They might want to be alone because we might just overwhelm them with ourselves, our loving selves. But I've tried to reiterate that in conversations and I've texted quite a bit with Anna to just reassure them, sent them pictures of the town. Jeff had sent them pictures of the apartment, and so that they have a visual. It's not all so foreign and so overwhelming to them. They are just, we were asking about what firmness of bed they like, because I'm thinking, a bed's a pretty personal thing, so we wanted to ask them that. And when she responded and, was saying, you're already taking such good care of us. And so one of the texts that I had with her was, we ask you a lot of kind of nitty-gritty questions, but we want you to know that we are so excited about you coming, that we're praying for you. We're praying for your family. You've gone through so much in these past, couple of years that we want you to know that we care about yourselves. So she was so grateful to hear that. I think they're learning. They're not just going to get dumped here. One of her responses was, I know that we can trust you not to leave us. And it is so overwhelming to know that Jesus has crossed those miles and has made that real to them, and it'll just continue to be. So, yes, we're putting together household needs. We're going to be having a donation board where families from church here can pick items that we're in need of to kind of fill their house with basic necessities, but also things that will make them feel at home and welcome. So we're going to do an Amazon list, make it easy to get online and choose some items. We also have items that you wouldn't have to get through Amazon. Gift cards will be up on that board so that we can just meet the needs of them. Toys for the little guy. We don't want, a room full of toys. He's just 2, but he needs a few things, and kind of gathering together those things. And the needs will continue on for a while. Yeah. So the other thing that I'm kind of working with Jess on is in those first couple of weeks, Candace and Sebastian kind of advised us about having, just a couple of people, a limited number of people, interacting with them for appointments and things, because it can be overwhelming to have 20 people stopping by your house and you don't know who any of them are. So again, the spouses, Mike and I will be transporting to some of those early appointments. They have to go to the health department. They have to go various places for kind of getting registered for things, and we'll be helping to transport them, and we'll be asking for some help with that too. But wanting to kind of ease them in and get things settled, and then especially when Vlad begins a job, and we can all talk about that too a little bit, we'll be working on some transportation. So that's basically where I've been.
Yeah.
Buried in household goods, but it's all good. We got boxes today, so.
But all good. And you and Jeff are both really humble, and I think that's really important for Crossroads people to know is they're coming with probably a couple suitcases, and that's it. And that's all they're arriving to us. And I believe Jeff and Ashley are picking them up in Chicago and bringing them back here. And so, we don't need 18 mattresses, but we need other stuff, right, for them. We also need to be very conscious of their culture. And so they're coming from and understanding their culture. So like you say, Jenny, thanks for bringing that up, that we don't want to ignore them, but we also don't want to smother them with a whole bunch of, it's going to be overwhelming in their adjustment time and all that kind of stuff. But with that being said, they are also coming from a country where if you're given something, you owe something, right? And so it's going to be very hard for them to accept. So the trigger words that I've heard and that we need to share with the congregation is that if we give them something such as gift cards or have this all, it's the church, right? This is a gift from the church. And that is, then they don't owe us because...
Like if we took them to the grocery store and then I just paid for those groceries, that would be hard for them because they would feel like, they're taking our money and that. But if we say church, they're more willing to accept that.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that's where everybody has come in, right? And the generous donations of Mission 316, Jeff, like you talked about, we've been able to do a lot of that, and we'll continue to be able to do a lot of that. And so, once again, it goes back to God's just provided all this, right? And this was just meant to be and things like that. So the absent people is Lori Weston, who I know is a fabulous decorator and also has a heart and passion to help others and in the background. And so I'm throwing her name, I'm throwing her under the bus. She's not going to get out of this, but she happens to also, see, there's a method behind my madness when I've asked people. There really is, and you all know me well enough to know that. But Lori happens to be Jeff's mother-in-law, and so there's another connection.
Great mother-in-law.
Favorite mother-in-law. Jeff said that, right? You better. And with that being said, Jeff went over, did the walkthrough of this apartment, and the cool thing is the landlord is from Hungary.
Yeah, so when we were looking for a place for them, so many of these apartments are owned by these big management companies, and, we're kind of towing the line of, my name's on the lease, but I'm not living there. Like, we need someone who's got a little leniency. So when I called this lady up after, I forget who even sent me the apartment. I actually found it on Craigslist, which, who used Craigslist anymore? Me, apparently. But when I called her up, I was kind of expecting like, they just want to make their money and move on. But I explained our situation and what we were doing, and she really wanted to be involved. And she's from she's from Hungary, and she came over here. So she's very sympathetic to the situation. And yes, there's paperwork, but she seems kind of willing to be like, it is paperwork, and not to say we won't, be held responsible for some certain things. But they're very lenient. We're going to get the apartment early. My name's on the paperwork, but they're living there. So they've been really good to work with so far. So we're excited about that.
Yeah. And so, Jeff, you went over and saw the apartment, and as soon as I asked Lori to be on this, I need to know, what kind of furniture so that we know and all that. And Jeff sent us a layout, right? And then as he went over, being in the position and job that you hold, he's adding and has more dimensions for us, and he's sending it to Lori. And by that afternoon, we had a layout of furniture and that whole thing, right? And it's just been amazing. So she has, I don't know, I get texts from her every day, and she's like, somebody donated this and somebody donated that, and I've picked up this and I've picked up that. And then Mary and John Staples said, we have a barn out here. You can store it out there once John cleans it. Thank you, John, for cleaning that barn, because we've got stuff coming in, and all of us are like, well, it can't go in my house, or it can't go in my garage and things like that. And so this team, once again, just, rise to the occasion and got it all done. And so there are specifics that we'll be talking about that we're still looking for but we also want them to come in and be able to put their touch on it too, right? Yes, and so we don't want to overstep, and so it's that fine balance. They're also a young couple, so they probably wouldn't appreciate my furniture in my house.
Grandma core,
But Lori is on top of that, right? Yes, and she has so many donations. And then I'm telling you guys, I was in tears because then this anonymous, generous, beyond belief text came through to me and phone call came through to me that somebody donated a car. And so Vlad has his license. He's a licensed driver, which makes it so much easier when he comes here. We just have to take him to Bloomington, to the DMV, and he can get his license. Now, we've got to do a little test driving on these roads and things like that. But it is a gorgeous vehicle that these amazing people donated anonymously for this family. I mean, wow, I'm speechless. It gets me beyond choked up. And so that's happened, and Lori has gotten all sorts of other stuff, and everybody's come through with that. And then you have Mary Staple, on the other hand, who is a doctor, and so she is going to be able to help us even more navigate through the healthcare system and the Medicare system or Medicaid system and all that kind of stuff. And so she is one behind the scenes, as Mary always is, going, I'll do that, I'll handle that, I got this, I got that, and always willing to help and be there for us. So
she has a really soft heart for culturally helping people and educating us about things that we might want to be aware of, and that's been a real learning thing for me too, to have her experiences, because she has worked with a lot of immigrant population in her job in Peoria, and so she's very aware of some of the challenges that they meet, that they have. So.
Right, and very sensitive
Sensitive to that.
to that culture, right? And any differences and being aware of that. So she has been absolutely critical on that team, so, or on this team. And so, yeah, it's just all come together. I hope I'm not missing anybody. There's other people.
You're missing yourself.
No.
Yes.
No, you are though.
No.
I mean, Holly has really kind of been the mover and the shaker as far as like getting us all
Keeping us-
together. And I know
I'm taking all the mic
Stop
back.
that! Stop that! I know you don't want any of the credit, and you know you have an amazing team of people doing a lot of the work. But like, it was really you that has kind of been like, we got to do this thing. Let's get it to Mission 316. Let's get all these people together. Like, it's very obvious that God has also put it on your heart too.
It has, and thank you. You're too kind, but I'm a behind-the-scenes person, and I feel blessed and honored that I know a lot of you and your gifts, and even other people that came to that meeting that have stepped up and said, whatever you need, whatever you need. And that's the purpose of this, is to get the word out to the congregation, because I know there's so many more people that have the same passion and the same heart, and we want to welcome when they get here and embrace them and love them and just be ready for them, and then Jeff wants to go on to the next family and the next family and the next family, and we're going to do that. And so I've not had anybody tell me no yet. So that just speaks to this congregation, as we all know how the Holy Spirit leads us all. And so it's been a pleasure. It hasn't been work at all. And you all feel that way, right? Like, it's not. I mean, when you're at Sebastian and Candace's at 11, it doesn't feel like work, right? It didn't get involved. It wasn't the golf game that got postponed or anything, right? It's just a pleasure. So, anyhow, stay tuned for how people can help.
Yeah.
Did you have something?
No, I was just going to say, one of the things that I think will be helpful to all of us is that Vlad and Anna do not speak English very fluently. They know a little bit, a very little bit. But one of the tools that we use with the other families is an app. It's a translation app. It's called DeepL. Now, they may be using something different, and so we'll, get up to speed on that. But I have found that it works very well. We have sat around a table and communicated with, an entire family back and forth, and all you really have to do is speak English into the app, and it will translate verbally by speaker the Ukrainian translation, and the same way with them, they'll speak in and it'll translate. So we want you all to get comfortable with using an app, because we want to communicate with them.
Right.
We don't want them to feel as if they're going to already feel that, but to be outside
Right.
of conversations and things. And they're very used to using that kind of technology in order to help along. But they'll be learning English too, because that's one of the first things they want to do. So we can help them, but it's also helpful for us to be able to speak in their language too. And it's not an easy language. No, neither is English easy
That's right.
for them.
That's
So,
right. And a great reminder, and thank you for that, but the 25th is on a Saturday. Sunday, so don't expect them in church that first Sunday. But with that being said, we're also, when the pastors are preaching, we have access to their sermon, and so we will have that being translated. So when they come here, they will have that so that they can follow along. So pastors have to stay on script, right? So that, anyhow, so.
So really, I mean, we're going to have that donation drive this next Sunday, correct?
Yes.
The 28th. So there'll be a movable wall out outside of the sanctuary. You can take a heart of whatever you'd like to find and to donate, bring it back the next week or in the next 2 weeks so that we can kind of get their apartment set up, get things ready, figure out what else we still need. And then as Jenny mentioned, eventually more needs will arise, more things will come up. We might need drivers. Who knows what else we'll need, but we will find a way to get that information out to you. So just stay tuned for all of that. If you have any questions, you can reach out to Holly Snyder. What's your email?
Holly@WashingtonCrossroads.com.
Or myself. My email is j.l.Melican, MELLICAN, @gmail.com. And we can get you to where you need to be. So
This is exciting. So I thank all of you. So stay tuned. We got more to come.